Do pets go to heaven?
I don't want to break some little girl's heart that wrote that question. I don't know who did.
Thank you, Don Bluth.
Look, I
You know who that
remember
is?
as a child. Did anybody ever watch the movie All Dogs Go to Heaven?
Don Bluth is the guy that came up with that movie.
Oh, okay.
That's why I said
See, you
thank
get all
Don Bluth.
technical. I don't
Yeah,
even
okay, I'm
know.
sorry.
Look, I think it's actually a great question. I know who wrote it, and we're going to answer it. I think it's a great question because people, and it kind of goes back to this idea of cremation and us thinking about earthly ways,
Okay.
the physical, this world, and it's hard for us to think about spiritual things sometimes because we're so used to that which is tangible, and we think about what makes us happy in life. And at my house, we have Shiloh, who's a little Maltese, selfish little dog. And we have Eve, a selfish cat. And they're all about themselves. But they are very loving, and they are an important part of our family. And I remember getting choked up. I love my pets. No. Getting choked up. Not over that, though. But I remember as a youngster, there was a write-in to the newspaper, and a very popular denominational writer would answer those questions. And the way he answered it was very diplomatic. And what he tried to say was, if you need your pet in heaven to be happy, then I'm sure it'll be there. And even as a youngster, I knew enough about God's word to know that was not a correct answer.
Wow.
And I don't think we need to be scared to answer these questions. And, God created this world, and it's a very important world that in the sense that he gave us everything that we needed. He created it all good. You can go to Genesis chapter 1, chapter 2. You can read about his creation. And he gave man dominion over that. And when he did so, he gave us some magnificent creatures. You think about horses and the things that they can do, the Clydesdales and their strength, the speed of certain other horses. I'm not a big horse guy to know all this. And I think about dogs and their ability that they can have companionship, that they can have, and I've even taken part in memorial services for dogs because of my law enforcement background. A lot of times one of those canine dogs that would be willing to sacrifice its own life in the fulfillment of the commands that it was given, that it would go out and it would, put itself in harm's way. It would sniff out criminals. There were times I didn't have to go into a building that possibly had somebody in there that would hurt me, and I didn't know where they were because the dog would go in and find them. I mean, it's amazing what animals are able to do, and God put them here, gave us dominion over them, but there's something different between man and animals. God created man in his image.
There you go.
Right.
With the soul, which is able to live eternally. And God did not create animals with a soul for the idea of eternity or being eternal. The earth and all that's there will be destroyed one day, as we've just talked about in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1. And so do animals, will our pets be in heaven? No. People say, but I can't be happy without my animal. If you are in heaven in the presence and glory of God,
nothing else is going to matter.
Yeah. And we can cherish our pets. You're not wrong. If you're a dog lover, a cat lover, you're watching this right now. Great. Wonderful. God put them here for different reasons.
Yeah. Where do you, and honestly, where do you draw the line?
And
where do you draw the line? Because that could extend beyond even pets. People have their plants and things that they love and that they talk to and stuff. And that those are living things. And it goes and goes and goes. You got all kinds of different things that people become fond of, as you were saying there. So, but the point is, God made man in his image. You started to say something, Jeff?
Well, yeah, I want to make the point. I don't want to offend anybody, but we need to understand that the way that we view animals, it is a cultural thing as well.
How about that? Yeah.
And I don't think people look at it that way because there are some countries.
Are you saying cats are looked at differently in other countries? Is that what you're saying?
Probably, and that animals.
We're going to stop it there,
Okay.
Jeff.
But can I make a? I want to.
No,
this
no,
is,
go-
I have a Bible question, so I want to.
Yeah, give the
Fiction.
Bible answer. I just didn't want
Okay.
to.
Okay, I wasn't going to do that because I love dogs. I got a
I
dog
baited him.
that-
I baited him right
Okay.
into
You
that.
did.
I'm sorry.
in 1 Peter 3:20, it says, which sometimes were disobedient when once the long suffering of God waited in the days of Noah while the ark was preparing, wherein few, that is 8 souls, were saved by water.
Ooh.
There were 8 souls on that
Souls.
ark, but it was full of animals.
There you
Oh,
go.
great point. Great point.
Yeah.
Good job.
That's what you should have started with, brother.
Okay.
I would have had to call time out there because I thought we were going to start talking about
Well-
eating cats and dogs. But anyway,
Well, Well, I was thinking of.
stop there.
I'm not
All
gonna
right,
go
there we
there.
go.
Okay.
There we go. Oh, but I mean, look,
Receive with Thanksgiving.
is that a so is that when we start talking about these questions, and sometimes we can be like, is there, I think the very first week, is there a dumb question, are there silly questions? I think those are good questions because people want to know, and if you haven't studied the Bible a lot, if you haven't been exposed to these things, you can wonder, are we going to have that? What's it going to be like? And it's, Jesus would say, to try and help people understand what heaven's like, he'd say, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. He talks about that there is a place for us, and he compares that. And I know in the Greek, we could say it could be translated as many rooms, but God in the book of Revelation talks about the street of gold. Does that mean there's literally a street of gold? It's hard for us in our finite minds to understand the infinite. And that's the place of heaven, is a spiritual place of
So beyond our own thinking, and so beyond our own imagination.
exactly. And so we wonder these things. But we don't always have answers for everything, but we can know that to go to heaven, it's a soul.
Yeah, let me reemphasize that there is no question that's a dumb or silly question. That was a great question. In fact, I've not had that question myself, but you answered it so well. I started this tonight saying about this program, about how I enjoy coming over here because iron sharpens iron. Well, now I have something to respond with next time I get a question like that, because that's the answer. We're made in God's image.
All right, I got to go ahead and tell you this. I'm the first time I got called, I was a police officer. They knew me because I was a preacher, but I was also a police officer. And one of the canine handlers called me, and he was like, "Hey, can you come say a prayer at the funeral for a dog?"
Wow.
And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Well, I was supposed to do it, but I'm not comfortable." I'm like, "Okay, I'll come pray." And I thought about it long and hard, and I was like, well, I can pray because I've thanked God on our behalf for his wisdom and his creation in giving us animals and designing them the way he did to provide for our needs.
How about that?
So I think that gives us an excellent way of being able to, yes, in a time like that, is it emotional? Because some people don't understand, why can somebody be emotional whenever an animal dies? But I'm going to tell you, I dread when something happens to our dog and cat, because I'm going to have a household of people that are sad, and it's going to be like, well, what do I do? And I remember the first time I tried to deal with the death of one of our dogs, and I was talking to one of my sons, and I was like, look, now that's just a dog. Beagles die. But I wonder if I was a little too harsh with him at the time, because our heart does connect to things. And so we need to have good answers on that. Then the other thing that happened was the second time was I was actually asked to preach, and I said, well, I'll officiate the memorial service. I didn't really preach. I just took, and I praised God for his wisdom in creation in this and all that. And it went well. I mean, I didn't try and say an animal went to heaven. I certainly didn't do that. I just talked about how this is a time that we can give praise to God, and that he is the God of comfort in any time of need. And we're thankful for that. Well, when it was over, the mother-in-law comes up to me and says, that was just so beautiful. I thought that was great.
Interesting.
And she said, there was just one thing I thought you were going to say, and you didn't say it. And I was like, really? And she said, yeah, I thought for sure you would say something about dog spelled backwards. And I was like, No, ma'am. No, no, no. I'm not going to do that.
Wow.
Because, sometimes we just get a little silly with our emotion, and
Right.
there's not this connection because of the spelling there.
Right. Started out with that question whenever I said that I don't want to break some little girl's heart. And then you brought in as well about how you handled that with your children. Listen, this is where a lot of times that question is going to come from. And really, what a great teaching moment to teach about the importance of God, the importance of understanding what it means to be a Christian, because that's going to be probably their first experience.
And if just to comfort them, we give them a false answer,
Exactly.
we really haven't done any justice.
That's right.